non-Jewish people who were coming to believe in Jesus. And so there was a debate. What do we do with so many non-Jewish people coming into the faith? Remember, the only orientation they had was Jewish. This was before there was anything known as Christianity. And the issue was, do we need to circumcise all of these people who were coming to faith? And the council at Jerusalem met with Peter and James and John and all of the leading apostles, and they agreed that we lay no further burden upon the Gentiles, that they need not be circumcised. You see, today we have, to use an English expression, we've come a full circle. Today the issue is, what do we do with many Jewish people who are coming to find for the first time that Jesus is the promised Messiah of Israel? My congregation is a small part of that, but I lead a wider group of American Jewish believers with the Messianic Jewish Alliance of America. And we are 168 congregations strong, and there are many other alliance congregations that meet worldwide. At the end of this week, many Messianic Jewish congregations and national alliances will be meeting in Berlin. And so there is a growing number of Jewish people coming to faith. And so now everything is reversed. Now the questions that are being asked is, do Jewish believers now have to follow largely Christian traditions? The very same issues that the first non-Jewish believers faced in Jerusalem, now the pendulum has swung in the other direction. And so while individuals like me, we will never ever be a majority, like the Jewish people, we are a minority. Even if every Jewish person on the face of this earth came to believe in Jesus, we would still be a minority. When I consider that Jewish people constitute 1/3 of 1% of the world's population, it's amazing to me that we are still around. When I consider all of the many hundreds of years where we have been persecuted, before the Christian era and after, right up to this present time. You see, God is faithful to his covenant. God made a promise to Abraham that he is going to keep, that there will always be a Jewish presence on this earth. God promised through Abraham a land. And for nearly 2,000 years, we have been away from that land. Moreover, Jerusalem hasn't been in Jewish hands in nearly 2,500 years. But I have been alive long enough to witness and experience a miracle of history, that in 1948, God made good on the words that he gave to our prophets and the words that he gave to Abraham regarding a land. And he brought back Jewish people from all over the known world, to use a biblical term, from the four corners of the earth. And he brought us back to the land of Israel. This, my friends, is a miracle of history. No other people group has been dispersed and sent away for that long and returned to their ancestral homeland, still retaining a common language, a common prayer book, a common Bible. and everything coming together, and it didn't matter if they were from Syria or Japan or Argentina or America. They came and they were able to speak and pray in the same similar tongue, a revived tongue of Hebrew. And then in 1967, the miracle of the reunification of Jerusalem. Again, this is a miracle of history. Jesus, in his Olivet discourse, he taught that you shall not see me again until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, which is Hebrew, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Well, we are living very close to the time, I believe, for Jesus' return. The Jewish people, we are back in our land. Jerusalem is in our hands again. How many know that Israel is a hotbed of a lot of political controversy all around the world? The prophet Zechariah said that Israel would be a cup of reeling, a stumbling stone to the nations. The nations, they do not know what to do with Israel. And so the Middle East is war-torn. In 2 more weeks, the United Nations is going to carry on a vote for the creation of another state called Palestine. And there is so much misinformation in media outlets all over the world that the term Palestinian is misunderstood. Historically, when an individual was referred to as a Palestinian, automatically you would think it's a Jewish person. That was the name of that land that was given by the Romans. When the Romans conquered the land, to add insult to injury, they renamed the land Palestina, after naming it after Israel's longtime enemy, the Philistines. But Jewish people who lived in that land were always referred to as Palestinians. But in 1973, a man named Yasser Arafat created a whole new people group, and he referred to them as the Palestinians. So today, when we think Palestinian, we think somebody who is not Jewish, somebody who is Arabic. And rather than going into the political debates back and forth, the point of my going there is that we're living in a very important time of history where God is making good on the promise he made to our fathers, that he is going to restore faith to Israel, that he is going to restore faith to the sons of Abraham. I am but a small remnant of that promise, and there are growing numbers of individuals like myself. So when I have the opportunity to speak to all of you, to communicate to you something that maybe you have not heard of before, I do so very delicately because it is difficult to hear something that maybe you have not heard before. This is why I gave the illustration of, living on a remote desert island, never hearing anything at all about any kind of formal religion. See, this was my orientation. I had preconceived views regarding Christianity. I had preconceived views regarding the Jewish world. But when I looked at the text, I recognized it for what it was, that it is a genuine Jewish writing. And I tell you, I am honored to be living in this day. It is an exciting time. I am very thankful for all of you who are here and listening to this. And we are going to have a time for question and answer. Teaching the Scripture within a Jewish context is something that I've been doing now for nearly 35 years. This was not my training. I have no theological training. My education was in accounting, in business. And I owned and operated a business for nearly 17 years before going into the ministry that I now serve at. But I want to leave you with this. God is faithful. He is true to the covenants that He has made. When I consider the gospel, there has always been a biblical priority. Romans 1 and verse 16 inspired me in many ways. The Apostle Paul, St. Paul says, I am not ashamed of the gospel. It is the power of God to salvation to all who believe, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. Now, when the great apostle said this, I took great encouragement with the words, I am not ashamed, because I heard a lot of negative communication from family members. Shame on you, I would hear. Shame on you. If your grandfather knew what you are doing, they would roll over in their graves. And I would hear this, but I would draw encouragement, because I don't know how many of you knew, but St. Paul, he was a great rabbi, a great learned rabbi. According to the book of Acts, he studied at the feet of Rabbi Gamaliel, prominent personage of the Talmud. He studied under Gamaliel. He was a Pharisee of Pharisees by his own writings and descriptions. And so when he could say, I am not ashamed, I was encouraged by thinking, I also am not ashamed. And then he continues and he gives us the only definition of what the gospel is. We can think of many things of what the gospel is, but the great apostle defines it as the power of God to salvation for all who believe. And it is still today the power of God to salvation. I have seen lives transformed. Father, I know you have seen lives transformed. All of you, God is transforming your lives. And with the wonderful teachers, the faculty here, God is beginning to do something great and wonderful in all of you. But St. Paul also had a little order there. He said that this gospel should go to the Jew first and also to the Gentile. And in my teachings, and this is my emphasis, this is the priority that our congregation and congregations like mine have established, that we want to go to our people first, not at the expense of eliminating anybody. But I believe that the greatest way to touching the entire world and reaching the entire world with the good news of what Jesus has done for us is by going first to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Jesus' very first marching orders to the 12 were these: go not in the way of the Gentile and the Samaritan. Go first to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This was also the message of St. Paul. This is the message that we carry, because we understand that even if we are a small minority, God is faithful that He will use that small minority to reaching every nation on this earth. And I want to leave you with a